I never thought the sound of a suitcase rolling down my driveway at 7 a.m. would haunt me forever. But that's exactly how my sister Emily came crashing back into my life last summer. She was 29, newly dumped, and somehow she looked both broken and strangely thrilled like a fox who had just escaped a trap, but lost a paw along the way. I live in a quiet suburb outside Austin, Texas. My husband Chris and I had been married for 7 years. We were that couple everyone envied at backyard barbecues. Or at least, that's what I kept telling myself. We met in college in San Diego, moved here for his job in tech. We built this cozy life with our dog, barbecue Sundays, matching Christmas pajamas. Emily had been in Miami since she was 18. We weren't close. She was the sparkly one always getting away with everything, mom's favorite, dad's little genius even when she flunked math and crashed her first car. I was the responsible one. The old soul who stayed in on prom night to finish an essay. When Emily came home, she said her ex had cheated on her with multiple men and left her penniless. I remember blinking like she was reading me a soap opera script. Chris offered to help her find work. I should have felt grateful, but instead I felt a tremor deep inside. The same uneasy shiver I got when she snuck out past curfew. Chris worked at a fast-growing startup downtown. Casual Friday meant free craft beers, board games. He pulled some strings, got Emily a junior marketing role. That was the start. Dinners started feeling crowded, even though it was just us three. They giggled about office jokes, the kind that made me feel like an outsider in my own kitchen. I started noticing how she stayed late after dinner, helping Chris organize project files on his laptop, laughing too hard, brushing imaginary crumbs off his shirt. I'd sit there frozen, clutching my wine glass like a lifeline. Sometimes Chris would glance at me, eyes darting away as if he knew something I didn't. One night after they finished laughing at some inside joke, I asked if they wanted dessert. Chris said, "Only if Emily makes her famous brownies." My stomach twisted. She never made brownies at home, that was my thing. But she ran to the kitchen smiling like she belonged there. I told myself I was overthinking. But even the dog started barking when she pulled into the driveway, as if he knew she came bearing storms. I kept wondering, was it always this easy for her to worm into people's hearts? Did Chris not see me standing right there? Or did he see me and just not care anymore? It was a Wednesday night when everything shifted. I came home late from a staff meeting. I'm a middle school counselor, so that's rare. The second I stepped inside, I heard music playing softly in the living room. Not our usual indie folk, but slow R&B. Emily's high school playlist, the one she used when she snuck boys into the basement. I froze in the hallway. Then came the laughter, high-pitched, intimate. A thud like someone had stumbled into the couch. My heart pounded so hard it felt like my ribs might crack. I tiptoed forward, peeked around the corner. Chris and Emily sat close. Too close. Her hand on his knee. He didn't flinch. I stepped back before they noticed. My purse slipped. It crashed to the floor. They both jumped up like kids caught stealing cookies. Chris called out, "Honey, you're home early!" Emily darted to the kitchen, face pale as a ghost. I tried to steady my breathing. I didn't say anything. I picked up my purse, walked upstairs. Later that night, while Chris was in the shower, I went back down. I scanned the couch, the floor, the pillows. Then I saw a small gold hoop earring, lodged between the cushions. It wasn't mine. I only wear studs. I held it up. And for a moment, I wanted to believe it slipped from her bag. But I knew. The next morning, I confronted her. She was pouring cereal like she owned the place. I held up the earring. "Looking for this?" She stared, then gave me that same fake innocent face she gave Mom when she crashed the car. "Oh, thanks. I was wondering where I lost that," she said, syrupy sweet. I wanted to scream, throw the bowl, shake her until she cracked. Instead, I just nodded, slipped it into her hand. That day I called in sick, drove around town aimlessly, ended up in a random strip mall parking lot. I sat for hours, watching mothers wrangling toddlers, couples holding hands, old men pushing carts, lives that weren't crumbling from the inside. When I got home, the house was quiet. Too quiet. I went to our bedroom to change. The bed. I always leave my pillow zipper facing out. That day, it was flipped. Everything looked perfect. But that detail screamed betrayal. My world wasn't just slipping, it was shattering. I was starting to realize maybe I'd been blind because it was easier than facing the brutal truth the two people I trusted most were cutting me out of my own life. I'll pause here. If you'd like, I can continue exactly the same way, marked with pauses, split lines, emotional rhythm for the entire rest of the story. I booked a weekend getaway to San Antonio, hoping maybe it would save us, or at least give me a safe place to confront the poison. Friday night, we checked into a cozy boutique hotel downtown, exposed brick walls, soft jazz humming in the lobby. Chris acted like everything was perfect. He kissed me at check-in, held my hand in the elevator. For a moment, a tiny, desperate part of me wanted to believe it was all in my head. We had dinner on a rooftop, city lights sparkling below us. He ordered my favorite wine, complimented my dress, called me his girl. He hadn't used that nickname since college. By dessert, I almost forgot. Almost. That night we found a tiny speakeasy, hidden behind an unmarked door. He twirled me, kissed my forehead, whispered that I was beautiful. We went back to the hotel. We made love like nothing was wrong. But underneath every touch, every sigh, I felt that rotting current of deceit. The next morning I woke up early, sat at the edge of the bed, the sunrise slicing through the curtains like a blade. I knew, even if it meant tearing my own heart apart. I had to ask. When Chris stirred awake, I turned. I looked straight into his eyes. "Are you sleeping with Emily?" His eyes widened. For a second, I thought he might lie. Then, tears. His lips trembled. "Yes," he whispered, barely audible. "I'm so sorry." My breath stopped. I pressed my palms into my thighs, trying to steady myself. "How long?" He took a long, broken breath. "It started a few months ago. We just connected. I don't know. I didn't mean to hurt you." A sharp electric jolt ran through me. "Did you bring her into our bed?" He turned away, covered his face. That was all the answer I needed. I stood, grabbed my purse, walked out. I didn't pack. I didn't look back. My footsteps echoed in that empty hallway, each one a thunderous goodbye. By the time Chris got back to Austin with my suitcase in an Uber, I had already started changing the locks. He knocked, begged me to open the door. His voice cracked, small, like a lost child. I didn't answer. I just watched through the peephole, silently promising myself I would never let him or her take another piece of me again. 2 weeks later, I found myself at my parents' big oak dining table in Dallas. The same table where we carved pumpkins, argued over Monopoly. But that day, the air was icy, dead. Emily was there, sitting next to Chris, her hand resting possessively on his thigh. She wore my old college sweatshirt, the one I left at my parents' house years ago. My breath caught in my throat. Mom kept dabbing her eyes, repeating we didn't want it to happen this way. Dad just stared at his hands, like he wished they would turn into something else. Then Mom stood, her voice shaky but firm. "We think it's time to put this behind us. Emily and Chris are in love. We want to support their happiness. We're a family, honey. Families forgive each other." I just stared at her. Forgive? As if they'd dented my car, forgotten a birthday. Emily jumped in, voice sweet as syrup. "Sis, you know I never meant to hurt you. But you and Chris, you were always so different. He needs someone like me. Spontaneous, fun, a real spark. You're too serious." She giggled, actually giggled, like she'd stolen my mascara, not my husband. Before I could even breathe, Mom pulled out her phone. She wanted a new family photo for Facebook, a fresh start, a performance. She shoved the phone at me, ordered me to stand between Emily and Chris. I stared at the screen, my heart pounding so loud it drowned out her words. I thought about all the family dinners, the whispered praise Emily always got, the quiet criticisms I swallowed like poison. And here we were again, my pain shoved aside. For her spotlight, I stepped back. "You think I'm gonna stand here and smile for your fake fairy tale? You're out of your damn mind." My voice cracked, my hands shook. But deep inside, something snapped free. Mom's face hardened. "Don't make this difficult. We're moving forward whether you like it or not. It would be better for everyone if you stayed in the picture." Dad looked up, eyes blank. Listen to your mother, he mumbled. I laughed then, a sharp, almost hysterical sound. You know what? Take your photo, post your lies, but I won't be in it. I won't be in any of this, ever again. I turned, walked out, slammed the door so hard the walls shuddered. As I got into my car, I saw Emily snap a selfie in the window reflection, Chris grinning beside her. That was the last image I saw, before peeling away. I didn't cry on the drive home. I didn't scream. Just a cold, eerie calm, like a winter lake finally freezing over. When I finally left my family behind, it felt like stepping into a vacuum. The silence was deafening. I moved into a tiny apartment in East Austin, started therapy twice a week, most nights. I wrapped myself in a blanket, watched strangers walk their dogs from my window. I tried dating, once, a dentist named Mark, polite, gentle. By the second appetizer, I knew I couldn't let anyone close. After that dinner, I went home, collapsed on the couch, screamed into the cushions until sunrise. That's when I stopped forcing it. I started real therapy. Finally dug into all those dark corners I'd locked away, the feeling of always being second best, the belief that love was something to be earned through sacrifice, the lie that I had to shrink, to fit. I started journaling, took a pottery class on Sundays, started cooking again real meals just for me. About a year later, at a friend's housewarming party, I met Daniel, a chef, warm eyes, a slow, patient smile. We talked about books, horror movies, the weirdest things we'd ever eaten. Unlike Chris, he didn't interrupt, didn't correct me, he just listened. That night when he walked me to my car, he didn't lean in for a kiss. Instead, he asked if he could call me the next day. We took it slow, really slow. By the time I introduced him to my dog, it felt like showing him a piece of my soul. Bit by bit, my walls began to crack. And Daniel, he just waited. We moved in together after 2 years. His big, messy family in San Marcos welcomed me like I'd been missing from their dinner table forever. His mom taught me to make tamales. His dad, a retired mechanic, offered to fix my car for free anytime. Even in this new life, ghosts still clawed at my door. A month before Daniel proposed, I got an email from my mother, a video montage, old vacations, birthday cakes, Emily singing off-key at Christmas, cheap cursive text over it. Family is forever, forgiveness heals. At the end, an invitation link. Emily and Chris's wedding live stream. They wanted me to witness their joy from afar. My hands shook so bad. I almost dropped my phone. I slammed the laptop shut, collapsed to the kitchen floor, held my dog like a life raft. That night, Daniel found me there, asked if I was okay. I finally told him everything, every dirty hidden piece. When I finished, he held me tight, whispered, "You never have to let them back in, ever." In that moment, I knew this was my real family, the one I chose, the one that chose me back. 6 months after our quiet backyard wedding, just me, Daniel, his parents, our dog chasing bees in the garden, the past came roaring back, like a hurricane at midnight. I was working on the restaurant's bookkeeping, sitting in the living room. My phone rang, Missouri area code. My stomach flipped. Some cruel instinct made me answer. It was Emily. Her voice cracked, small. "Hey, big sis," she started, like we were catching up over iced coffee. A strange coldness washed over me, like I was floating above my own body. She hesitated, then blurted out, "I'm sick. My kidneys are failing. I need a transplant." Silence. I just listened. She rambled. Treatments, hospital bills, her fear of dying. Then, the real bomb. Doctors say, "You're my best shot. Family matches are usually the best. Please, please come get tested." I heard muffled sounds behind her. Mom crying, Dad's low mutter. Then Mom grabbed the phone. "Honey, I know we've had difficulties," she said, her voice trembling. "But this is life and death. Emily's life, your sister's life." A half smile curled on my lips. The audacity. They stole my husband, shattered my world. Now they wanted a piece of me, literally. I didn't answer them directly. I just said I'd think about it. Hung up. I sat there, frozen, staring at a framed photo of Daniel and me at Barton Springs. When Daniel came home, I told him everything. He listened, jaw tight, eyes calm, but burning underneath. Then he finally asked, "Do you want to go?" I shook my head. "No, but I need them to hear me, to see I'm not that girl anymore." A week later, I flew to St. Louis, alone. Emily was in the hospital, pale, hooked up to machines. My parents hovered nearby, like desperate shadows. They looked older, smaller. A doctor explained the surgery risks, said we were a perfect match. A miracle, he called it. Mom's eyes, filled with desperate hope. I stepped closer to Emily's bed, took her trembling hand, locked eyes with her. She started crying, whispering, "I knew you'd come. You always take care of me." I squeezed her hand tighter, leaned in, voice low only for her. "You're right. I did always take care of you. But not this time." She blinked, confused. I pulled back, raised my voice, just enough for everyone to hear. "I am the perfect match, and I choose to walk away. You can't take anything else from me." Emily wailed. Mom gasped, grabbed at my sleeve. Dad stood frozen. I turned. Each step out of that sterile room felt like rebirth. I didn't look back, not once. I remember the automatic doors sliding shut behind me, a cold hiss, like the final punctuation mark, at the end of a tragic novel. Outside, the sky was bright, sharp, almost mocking the darkness I had just left behind. I paused on the sidewalk, felt the sunlight on my face, breathed deeply, for the first time in a decade. A nurse rushed out. She'd overheard everything. She called my name. I turned, thought she might beg me to go back, but she just stood there, wide-eyed. You really walked away," she whispered, almost in awe. I nodded, slow, steady. I had to. I finally had to choose me. She stared for a moment, then turned, went back inside. I stood there alone, with the roar of traffic and that faint hospital smell still clinging to my clothes. I took a cab to a tiny motel I booked for the night. In my room, I collapsed onto the bed. Every muscle trembled, from exhaustion, from relief. Then, the tears came, heavy, endless. They weren't just for Emily, or Chris, or my parents. They were for every time I swallowed my anger, every time I made myself smaller, every time I gave away pieces of my light. When the sobs finally faded, I stood, walked to the mirror, my eyes, red, puffy, but I didn't look broken. I looked alive. I grabbed my phone, called Daniel. He picked up on the first ring. "Hey," he said softly, like he already heard the storm in my breath. "It's done," I whispered. A pause. Then, that warm, steady voice. "Come home." I nodded, even though he couldn't see me. "I'm coming. I'm really coming home this time." The next morning, I took the earliest flight back to Austin. When I stepped out, Daniel was there, arms open, eyes glassy. I ran to him, and for the first time, I felt what it meant to belong, without having to earn it. That night, we sat on the porch, hot tea, stars overhead. He squeezed my hand, leaned his forehead against mine. "No more ghosts," he murmured. "No more ghosts," I echoed, almost a prayer. I felt the last pieces of my old life drift away. Finally, I wasn't just surviving, I was living, on my own terms, in my own light. And as I rested my head on Daniel's shoulder, I promised myself I would never let anyone, ever again, dim that light. Whisper, "You are free now, truly free."